4 years, but we became a 501c3 in 2016. So we just reached our 2-year milestone. So from a grant writer perspective, 2 years is good because a lot of companies want you to be in organization for 2 years. So a lot of people, when they think of literacy, they think if someone can't read. They think of usually like most of the literacy councils that are around, they might help people who maybe struggle with reading, or they dropped out of school and they're having trouble going back to school. We help people who can read at we say competent level, but not at the most competitive level that they need. So in some ways, our typical student would be someone who, might have like a GED. They might have a decent job, but like if they wanted to get to an office job, they may not have the technology skills to get there, or they might not have the reading skills to get a college degree, but they're doing okay to get them at the most competitive level. But at another level, we work on redefining, rethinking, and reshaping literacy. So at another level, we help people who any of us can probably use the services, because there might be literacy skills that we, don't have. And sometimes we don't even know what it is, but it's just something that holds us back. Like for instance, one example that when I worked with literacy, we've had examples like maybe when a spouse passes away, the survivor might say, I can't read and my spouse always did all my work for me that way. So that's like someone who has very low literacy skills, but at this level, it might be like maybe something happened like my spouse always did this and I don't know how to figure out my mortgage. So that's kind of more advanced literacy, but if you can't figure out how your mortgage works, then you have that chance of being homeless because you don't know how to do something basic, or you're paying more interest than you think you should be because you just don't understand. You don't even understand how to do the right questions. So I think like everyone can have literacy issues. I think an example that I'll use like kind of for myself, like I'm a writer for a newspaper, and there's always some people think like if you write something, you should know what you're talking about, you understand the concept. That's not true, because I write so many articles for newspapers like on budgets, and I don't know, something about budget, like I think my dad, he's in the hospital now, but even him, he said, like, I'm writing a budget article. My dad freaked out. He goes, do they let you do this? And then he's like, don't you need special kind of training? I'm like, no, I just kind of interview people, write it in AP format, have them write some of the answers, and then, just kind of work with that. So then I always start the first paragraph talking about tax levy, which I still don't quite understand what it is. So then I write this article, and other people will read it and be like, wow, this is kind of interesting. They kind of interpret what I just told them, and I have no idea what it is. So it's kind of like, I could probably benefit from having someone explain things, to me that way. So I think, like everyone has like literacy skills. There's the issue, like my dad's in the hospital, so my sister understands everything that she's talking to the doctors about, like every medical issue. And then there's me just not understanding what a breathing tube is, and he can't talk on the phone when he's a breathing tube, like can he text? No, he's on a breathing tube, just stuff like me not understanding basic medical information. So sometimes, but then there's a lot of other stuff that, I understand quite well. I just, don't understand this area. So I think like everyone has that about them. So that's why we're redefining, reshaping, and rethinking literacy. So I want to talk about our typical students that we have, right now. We do a program called College Still Achievable. So that's why we're excited about working with Concordia, University. A lot of there's always that trend, and it goes back and forth, but there's the trend that a lot of people who go to school, they're really busy, but then there's also the trend for like a lot of adult learning centers that really want, people who, are business owners to go back to school, and that's great because a lot of us do really well, but then there's also people who barely graduated high school, haven't gone to school in like 20 years, and they really want to go back to school. So then they try going back to one of the adult college campus centers, and then they have like 5 papers due in a week, and it's like their first day of class. And nowadays, I don't know if you've ever seen a college syllabus. It's different. Like I think when I was in college, it was like 2 pages. Now it's like 20. Like they have this, it's almost like a research paper. Read it. It's like, they have this big thing about plagiarism, and I mean, it's like really, it's like a huge, thing. So a lot of our students, if they, maybe didn't really do well in school the first time around, but they want to, have that degree so they can maybe go into marketing, and they might be really good at a job, but they struggle with that academic writing. So that's, really hard for them. So like we had one student, I wrote this in one of our blogs that we have, but we have one student who went back to school and she thought she could do okay. She knows how to use a computer. She uses an iPhone, and then immediately the teacher says like you need peer-reviewed resources, to do a paper. So you can't use Wikipedia or Google for any of your research. But that's how she researches everything. So it's kind of like having to understand that, and then you have like 5 papers due, that weekend by the time the weekend's over, and you haven't used Microsoft Word for a while. You know how to type, but then people get confused over APA format, which really isn't that hard. So a lot of our students kind of just get really overwhelmed and they just drop out. So usually when we see a student, they've been to school 4 to 5 times at different universities and then they've dropped out. And sometimes it's just kind of a mind game, like APA style. A teacher can write in the instructions, write a biography about yourself and what you want to do in 10 years in APA style. It's an easy paper, but it says APA style. Then they freak out. And it's like, it just means that you just have to have your margins one way, and a font in one way. But then they kind of freak out. So it's kind of like us kind of navigating the system for them. So we have one student, her name is Charlotte. You can read about her on our website, but she's someone who had so many struggles. She got our adult student of the year because she's, going back to school. She kind of suffers, like she's had a couple homeless situations. She's trying to start a business because that's what she needs to do to go back to school. She's just really has struggled, but she's, kind of persevered it, and, she, got recognized throughout the state. So we help, people in that situation. But we also have other programs. Another program we do is persuasive writing. So we've had students who we've worked with students who have their kids out of their home because of not child custody, but maybe they're in the process of getting their kids back. So they want to write a persuasive letter to a judge, and they just don't know how to write professionally. They might write like one paragraph that's like 5 pages. A judge isn't gonna, no matter how good your points are, that's gonna really confuse a judge. Or if you don't use the right font, and if a judge is over 40, usually you need like at least a 14 because they always say they always say for grant writing, I didn't know this, but usually it's like 12 is like what's good, but they say for grant writers, the reviewers are usually like 40 and above. So you're 14. And I'm 46, and I kind of noticed lately, it's like I took this trend, it was like I'm just all of a sudden zooming in. Like to like 150, and it just seems to go higher and higher. It's like I can't. So it's just kind of interesting, but it's just kind of like not knowing how to format, and communicate effectively, for a judge. And sometimes we might help someone for just an hour, and they get it. Or sometimes it's just like not understanding how to do a PowerPoint and not understanding the terms, but they're really, it's not like they have a learning disability, like a low literacy student might have a learning disability. It might take them years to learn how to read a book, but these students, it's like they just don't understand something. You show it to them like, oh, I get it, and it helps them with everything else. So we help students who are more at the higher level. We kind of feel like a lot of students who go through other programs, there's a lot of programs that help people who are at the lower level, but then people in the middle are kind of forgotten. So we try to help people who are kind of at that middle get up to that most competitive level. So I would say our concept is somewhat newer because it's redefining, reshaping, rethinking literacy. So we try to do different and kind of unique programs that aren't done before as well. What I wanted to talk about is that we're doing something in January called a technology challenge. And that's our first time doing this. We want to do it like a really bigger program, so we include a lot of different businesses, because a lot of people, when you learn technology, you just don't always have someone teaching it to you. Like when I learned Microsoft Word, in college, it wasn't like we had classes, it was just like you just kind of have to do it. So there's sometimes you think you know technology and you think you're so great at it, and you might be, but then there might be just something you just don't know, and you keep doing it the long way, and someone can say, well, just do this, and you're like, oh, that's so much easier. I think that happens with any workplace, but you're not gonna really, you're busy, so you're not gonna wanna take a class in Excel if you already have a pretty good grasp on it, but maybe not at the biggest level. Sometimes you just need someone to help each other one-on-one. And I think it goes back and forth. My boss at the job that I worked at, she'll say, oh, my technology is really bad, I have a flip phone, but then she's telling me this when she's on the computer next to me, laying out the newspaper on InDesign. So a lot of people don't know InDesign, right? But then there are things that she'll tell me, like, this is something everyone knew but me, and I was kind of embarrassed about, but I can type really fast, okay? But sometimes when you type really fast, your document will highlight, and then you press the key, and then it deletes. Shit. So now I'm typing it again. So I'm like, just typing it again. You know? And then I think it happened in front of my boss, and I was gonna say, shh, but she was in front of me, right behind me, like, over my shoulders, and like, then she goes, well, just do Command Z, and then it just came back. Wow, this is really cool. So it helped us, like, and I didn't even know this, like, and everyone's like, you didn't know this? You know, but it's like, I think I'm, you know, like I can teach online, I can, you know, I'm on my computer all the time. So sometimes a literacy council, when they deal with technology, they might deal with maybe someone from Burma who never held a mouse before. You know, they don't know how to turn on a computer, but I think technology is more complicated, you know, than that when you think of literacy. Like you might have someone who uses an iPad all the time, and maybe they work at one job, they use their iPad all the time, and then they work maybe at a bank, and they have to use a desktop computer, and they've never used a desktop. Or we've had people who maybe use Gmail, Yahoo, you know, the home email, and then they get a job at like We Energies, and they struggle in using the email system because Outlook is different. And even though we might use Outlook all the time, but maybe we don't use it for our biggest potential, like maybe we don't flag things or whatever you're supposed to do, or send group emails, okay? So what we're doing in January is we're doing a technology challenge, and I wanted to do it with this group because we would like to do it where it's at a bigger scale, where companies compete against each other. So it's kind of like people pairing off in, you know, groups of two. We want to do it like one-on-one because it's not like mentoring, it's not like you helping so-and-so because they're bad, it's kind of like you helping each other. We'll have kind of at first like a checklist to get started, but to kind of have people share, you know, technology, quick points, and then you'll get points to see how much time is saved. Like for me, I can calculate how much time I saved because I don't have to retype something, you know, every time I accidentally delete it. You know, so that's kind of like how we would measure like how much time is saved. And it's going to be a pilot, but I would like to do it with this group, just because we want to do it just to see, you know, how it works to get the kinks. Because it could be kind of complicated, but we would like to do it in the future where we have coaches that might help some of our students who have good skills. Like usually with technology, it's like they soak it up like a sponge. So it's kind of like you can just help them for like 5 minutes and they get it. So that's kind of what I like about this. It's not like you're teaching something to someone that they've never done before. It's not like you're teaching them how to rewire or hard drive or something. It's, you know, it's not like you're teaching them how to build a wall. It's just something you're sharing what's worked for you for someone else that might not have done before.